Hello, Internet. Today's beer of the week is the best damn cherry cola I ever had, and I already have to drink because I've already screwed up in the cold opening. This is weird. If you ever buy this, this is a twist-off, which always confuses me because I never expect things to be twist-offs. And then I try to open them with a regular bottle opener anyway. And because they're twist-offs, they're actually much more difficult to get off with a regular bottle opener than you might think. Anyways, I have to drink, and that means you all have to drink! Anyways, best damn cherry cola isn't the best damn cherry cola I ever had. It's the best damn hard cherry cola I ever had, but that's because I've never had another hard cherry cola. But it's not bad. I mean, it tastes like cherry cola, and it'll get you drunk. So if that's what you're into, you're probably like 14 or something. Anyways, this is $0 Productions show title pending. Yay! I'm sure you all know the idea. Anyways, I lost my train of thought, so that means I have to drink again, which means everybody at home has to drink. Or drink twice, or I don't know. I'm kind of cloudy on the rules. But drinking is heavily encouraged. Anyways, today's list is the top 5 underrated Nintendo games, or series, as it might be, because a couple of these games are going to be kind of condensed into one. Anyways, I'm going to start with numero 5, The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, and Oracle of Seasons. Now, these aren't necessarily underrated so much as underappreciated. These games are really kind of an interesting entry into the Zelda canon and into Zelda as a series, because it had been well established by the time they came, but these were only the second and third games to actually be handheld titles, with the first obviously being Link's Awakening for the original Game Boy. So this was kind of a little bit of a interesting step. They actually originally started with Oracle of Seasons was going to be a remake of the original Legend of Zelda. Bet you didn't know that, unless you saw it on the internet somewhere like I did. But, you know. Anyways, somewhere along the way, they ended up deciding to create this into its own game, but I still think it's really cool just playing through it, how you can see a lot of the similarities between that and the original Legend of Zelda. A lot of the dungeons have the same basic layout, but then they add a lot more layers to the dungeons, kind of make them a lot more complicated than the original dungeons. That's one of the things I like about these games particularly, is that they have non-linear dungeons, like a lot of the old ones, and like several of the handheld titles. And by several, I mean those two games and Link's Awakening are probably the least linear dungeon design overall. And I like that in a game. You know, I want to be confused kind of looking at the map and trying to figure out where to go and not being able to really. Also, this presented an interesting thing for any kind of person who's big into timeline theories, or was big into timeline theories before Nintendo said, no, this is the timeline, your theory is wrong. But you can read about that in the article I posted a couple of weeks ago. It's kind of cool because it's one of the few direct sequels in the Zelda series. Because these two games, you can actually play one and then the other, and if you beat the first one, it'll give you a code that you can have all your stuff unlocked in the second one, basically. You won't have all your heart containers and that kind of thing, but it's basically like you're continuing playing through the first game in the second game. All your NPCs will recognize you, and the story has changed a little if you have your new game linked to the other game. And it's really cool just to play both of these as one game. And the fact that they made a game or two games that are able to do that is kind of fantastic, especially since these two games released in less than 1 year of each other. That's an impressive feat, to make two solid games that even standalone I would consider as good as any other Zelda game. But then the fact that the two of them together are really more or less what the game is, that's really cool. Because I feel like neither of these games is complete without the other. I could ramble on for quite a while longer, but then I'd have a 30-minute video like I did when I put Wind Waker at the end of my GameCube list. Anyways, so we're going to move on to number 4. No More Heroes 1 and 2. These games are great, and for some reason they really just kind of flew under the radar for most people. I think it's kind of interesting. These two are big first-party titles for, well, more or less third-party, I guess. I don't know. Wii exclusive, anyway. I shouldn't have said first-party, so I think that's worth a drink because I screwed up there. I called first part. Anyways, there's very few exclusive Nintendo games that are these big M-rated titles like this. Because Nintendo is generally more toward the side of family friendliness in most of their games. And obviously there's, people will argue here and there, oh, there's this M-rated title and there's all kind of these dark elements in Majora's Mask, whatever, shut up. But to actually have a standalone M-rated title for Wii is kind of different. Nobody else really did that. There weren't that many M-rated games for Wii that weren't like a multi-platform game, and these were some of the best. Like, I talk to people and they don't even know that they happen, pretty much. I'm not even sure I know another person who's played both of them. And they're amazing games. They're just hilarious. This entire thing is just full of wacky gameplay elements and writing. Just the writing is completely off the wall crazy. It doesn't even make any sense sometimes, but it's so much fun just to see what stupid thing is going to happen in the story. Plus, this had a unique Wiimote function that no other game had, as far as I know, where you could get calls on your cell phone, and if you put the Wii remote up to your ear, it would actually play the call through the speaker in the Wii remote, which was really a kind of a neat, weird gimmick. I'll give you that, but nobody else did that, so that's kind of clever, and I never thought in all my years playing on Nintendo consoles that I would hear a controller swear nearly that much. So that's just my take on that. Gonna move on to Numero Trace. Apparently several of these are bilingual, so you're welcome if you're watching in Mexico or another place where they speak Spanish. Anyways, Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, also for Wii. This game is criticized all the time for not being Path of Radiance, and that's basically the flaw that killed this game. And that's stupid. This game was fine. It wasn't as good as Path of Radiance for story, but the system was literally just copied and pasted from Path of Radiance, so, I mean, what are you going to complain about there? It had a pretty good story. I actually liked this as a direct sequel to Path of Radiance, coming back and having your main characters on the other side of the battlefield. Having seen Ike as this great destroyer rather than a war hero, I thought that was a kind of a cool take on the whole thing. It's like something that you never even think about is the aftermath of the war from the perspective of the loser. Because, I mean, I'm in America, and we don't lose. So I've never really had that feeling, and I thought exploring that feeling with some of these characters was really unique. Now, some people will put this game down as being a game where you can just have Ike run in and kill everything. And that is a little true. But if you've played literally any other Fire Emblem title, you can still do that with anybody else. Go play the original Fire Emblem, you've got Hector and Marcus, and they'll just wipe everybody off the field if you level them up and pay attention. They're just invincible, basically. In the last one that I played, Fire Emblem... Now I feel stupid because I can't remember the title. So I have to drink, which means drink. I added a little placard. It makes the game more fun. As far as I know, Fire Emblem Awakening. You have Chrom and Lucina and Robin. And if you can't kill every stage with those 3 characters and a couple of healing potions, you suck at Fire Emblem. That's just the nature of it. There's a character like that in every title I've found. And I've always kind of lamented that fact, that I almost want to keep them back and not fight with them as much so that the other guys can level up to get to their level, but then just like leaving them off to one side, they get attacked by like 6 guys and get more experience than the rest of the party anyway, which I've always thought was kind of strange. We're going to move on. Numero dos is Metroid Other M, which also is kind of criticized for not being one of its predecessors. Everybody was really big into Metroid Prime, obviously, and that series, and then it kind of took a nosedive in a lot of people's opinions with Other M, which is kind of sad, because really it only had a bad story. The story was just not good. The mechanics were flawless. I loved playing this game. In fact, I would argue that it is significantly closer to the roots of Metroid than any title in the Metroid Prime series. Other M is really what I wanted from a gameplay perspective. This game is like Metroid, the original Metroid, except with that third dimension in there, in a real platformer instead of the kind of hybrid shooter platformer that Metroid Prime was, which was great. I've already said that. You all know that I love Metroid Prime. But this had really what I think the Metroid series should have gone for instead of that. I will give you the storyline did kind of suck, but I like playing this game better than I like playing Metroid Prime. So, there. Finally, we're going to move on to numero uno, which I don't actually have. So, instead, woo! Pokemon Snap. Images courtesy of Google. Apparently, they're my sponsor this week, I guess. They're not actually giving me money, but I'm posting them on the internet on a site that they technically control anyway. So, I think I might just be advertising for them. Anyway, the most underrated Nintendo title is Pokemon Snap. Pokemon Snap is really kind of an interesting title when you think about it, because now obviously it gets a ton of crap, but I mean at the time, who didn't love Pokemon Snap? Everybody liked Pokemon Snap. It was awesome. You're like going around in a safari park of Pokemon, and they're like just in the wild, like real Pokemon. This has presented an idea that no other Pokemon game really has of Pokemon being wildlife, which I think is one of the things that the TV series also kind of stapled into your brain, like Pokemon are like the animals of this world. And if it wasn't for that, I'm not sure we would have thought of them as animals so much as just collectibles. You know, nobody would care about their Pokemon as much. It's like your pet. And without Pokemon Snap and the TV series reinforcing that, then why would we even have ever thought of that? Anyways, that's my top 5 underrated or underappreciated games from Nintendo. And I'm Sean Michael Patrick Thompson signing off, and if you haven't had a chance to yet, here's your excuse to drink. don't forget to comment and share and stuff. Yay!